So g'day and welcome back to another geology video, and today we're talking about basalt. So here we have some basalt, and this is relatively fresh, but I'm talking about a topic I'm not that familiar with. This is a mass of basalt that's been pretty much converted. I would say this is more like the eating site, so this is probably a combination of olivine, clays, iron oxide and ferrihydrite, but if you break it open, which we're probably going to do, we'll find out what's actually in it, because all these come from the same formation. Generally the basalt doesn't stay in a massive form for too long. Okay, so here we have a whole series of basalt. So I've actually arranged them in the, well, what I think is the alteration state. So we have the fresh basalt here. You can actually see it's quite blue. Here's a large one. So this one has crystals which formed after it was solidified, but it still had a lot of hot fluids actually going through it. So this is probably calcite or something like that. I don't know the actual mineral composition of this one. I need to do a hardness test, and I'll do that in the future. As you can see, this one does have clay on it, so that clay does have a lot of organic, so it's brown. And then we have the second one. So this one, it looks like it has some alterations. You can see the colour change, but it seems that there's probably the first one actually goes to olivine. So olivine weathered quickly, and as you can see, it has a lot of well, looks like iron oxide or ferrihydrite actually, and large globules. So as without, I haven't actually done any chemical tests, so I don't really know. So you can see how this is starting to disintegrate. So it looks like it's actually made out of larger crystals, which it actually is not. It's probably just the alteration of the actual minerals. So the mineralization, we do have minerals. So we have a high content olivine, because this is classed as an olivine basalt. That's what I've read on the geological maps, as well as the geological reports. So it should have high sodium, and potassium has a high weathering rate. So you look up the gold. Yes, I live next to a train line, and that it doesn't make for good videos when you go outside. Okay, so we have pyroxene. As far as I know, this might be augite. So it has a lot of calcium, sodium, magnesium, iron, aluminium, titanium, and that's a silicon aluminium silicate. So they're usually, it's in the ground mass, as well as phenocryst, nepheline, as I said, pyroxene. Now these don't really have much amphibole, so you won't find too much of that. And this is because if we look on this side, okay, so this is information about weathering. So you got the minerals are less stable because they're formed in conditions that are not standard earth conditions. They're under high temperature and pressure. Small crystals increase area for weathering. So if you've got a large crystal that way, the center of it doesn't weather as quickly as the surface. Okay, high iron content causes hematite, iron oxides and hydroxides, brown rust. So they look brownish color, which you can see on here. So that's the hematite forming on it. You can see it's actually disintegrating as I'm picking it up. Okay, low potassium basalt minerals so these turn to montmorillonite clay. So low potassium, and illite clay. So a low potassium basalt means it turns to a montmorillonite, and it got the colour, so that's white, yellow. But the montmorillonite where I am is a black colour, so it has a lot of organics. So generally a lot of organics build up, so you don't really see the white colour unless it's actually pure. So the plagioclase, which is not that much, is usually the sodium. And that's where we get the rest, so we do get a lot of sodium and not much potassium. Anyway, so that's pretty simple. I haven't got my head around all that yet, but I just wanted to have some fun. Okay, so here you can see, well, this one's even better. You can see we have banding on the actual rock. So this is a well-weathered rock. Obviously, the next in the series is this one, but we'll stick with this one for now. So this is the immediate predecessor. As you can see, has some weathering. With this one, you can start to break with your hand. So the original basalt, you can't break with your hand. It's just the strength for this rock is just too high. Okay, this one you can break with your hand. So it is, let me see, you can just break with your hand. So it is well on its way to forming a clay, as well as the iron oxides as well. And if we turn this one is also, you can actually break it. Now what are these bandings? Well, they are not the actual crystallized, so this is calcite. This is just sheet calcite formed in the one of the actual cracks. It's the same as these crystals that form in the actual vesicles. But this one, I haven't found any information, but just an educated guess. This would be probably iron oxides and ferrohydrites, as well as some clay. So iron oxide, you know, it's like a reddish brown. So there is some reddish brown in the actual, so you can see reddish brown there. The ferrohydrite, generally dark brown or even a yellowish brown. So then we got these whites here. Now that might be the actual clay. So you got laminations of the actual clay. So white actually is laminated. Probably it's something to do with the flow structure of the actual rock. So the lava is flowing that way, and it's forming layers on top of each other. But generally it's usually a massive flow, and as the weathering gets on the way, so this is actually also, I can just run my hand along it and it breaks apart. So this is probably pretty much at this stage mainly iron oxides and other type of minerals. That's why it's like a brownish reddish colour, as well as a yellowish colour too. But it's, you can see it looks pretty not as banded, but the minerals look like platy type of mineral. So that indicates that these probably contain a lot of clays, because clays are in sheets. So you've got, you know, a 2-1-2 sheet, different type of clay. Maybe I'll do another video on clays. You can see as you look this way is probably the sheet structure. It's more like a clay. So that's very interesting. If anyone has any papers, they can actually send me about actual weathering of basalt. That would be great. And then we have, so this is just the mass basalt. I reckon this is mostly just clay. So I can actually break it up in my hand, so it doesn't have that much strength in it. The platiness that you see in the other minerals is pretty much gone. If we break it open, you can see that there also some of the original basalt. Let's see if we can take that out. No, Okay, so you can see the vesicles in the actual rock. Yeah, this part here is less weathered. Still, it does have a lot of iron oxide in it. There's the vesicles there. But, you know, it's just mostly just iron oxide and clay. So that's very interesting. So we have a whole series here of the weathering process of basalt. So we have the fresh basalt. We have the beginnings of probably the olivine breaking down here, as well as probably the pyroxene as well. If you look at the gold-rich dissolution series, then the amphibole breaks down, and this is probably happening in this process here. And the plagioclase also breaks down in this series. And then if there's any quartz, which I don't think this has a lot of quartz in it, that will probably break it down in this process here, which is very interesting. So this is highly weathered. And then we have the extreme weathered clay and iron oxide here. So I hope this helps you with your basalt dissolution. Not basalt dissolution. How basalt weathers in the environment. Anyway, thank you very much. And if you can help me out with just learning more about this process. Thank you and goodbye.